Good day everyone. I am John Abril, the first reporter of Group 2, and I will discuss the introduction of the Earth's hydrosphere and some facts about Earth's hydrosphere. Earth's hydrosphere is made up of all the water on the Earth's surface, from oceans and seas to lakes and rivers. By some definitions, you should even include the water in clouds. But the Earth has not always been here. Like the entire universe, it formed billions of years ago. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how Earth's hydrosphere developed. A hydrosphere is the total amount of water on a planet. The hydrosphere includes water that is on the surface of the planet, underground, and in the air. A planet's hydrosphere can be liquid, vapor, or ice. The hydrosphere, often referred to as the aquasphere, is generally defined by geochemists as the liquid and solid water present at and near the land surface, and it is dissolved constituents. On Earth, liquid water exists on the surface in the form of oceans, lakes, and rivers. It also exists below ground as groundwater. In wells and aquifers, water vapor is most visible as clouds and fog. The frozen part of Earth's hydrosphere is made of ice, glaciers, ice caps, and icebergs. The frozen part of the hydrosphere has its own name, the cryosphere. Water moves through the hydrosphere in a cycle. Water collects in the clouds, then falls to Earth in the form of rain or snow. This water collects in rivers, lakes, and oceans. Then it evaporates into the atmosphere to start the cycle all over again. This is called the water cycle. Next is the importance of hydrosphere. The major importance of the hydrosphere is that water sustains various life forms. It plays an important role in ecosystems and regulating the atmosphere. The hydrosphere covers all water present on the surface of the earth. It involves salt water, fresh water, and frozen water along with groundwater and water in the lower levels of the atmosphere. Also, the importance of the hydrosphere in a way means the importance of water which exists around us. No life form on Earth will be able to survive if there is no hydrosphere present. So, in a way, all life will cease to exist. Furthermore, the hydrosphere is also responsible for the regulation of climate. This happens due to the specific heat of water which makes sure that it takes longer to cool down or heat up the temperature of the surroundings. Next is the development of the Earth's hydrosphere. Scientists are pretty confident that around 3.8 billion years ago, Earth had, Earth had a similar amount of water compared to today. Earth as a whole formed when a disk or of rock, dust, and ionized particles condensed and came together. Some of these particles and rocks may have contained up to 20% water from elements that formed in previous, now dead stars. And we know that Earth formed about 4.6 billion years ago. It is the period in between these dates where Earth's hydrosphere formed. In these early days, as the heavy elements started to sink towards the center to produce Earth's iron core, Earth was larger and the surface was far enough away from the center to be significantly cooler. This allowed lightweight water to outgas, finding its way out of rocks and rising towards the surface. The low temperatures at the surface made it harder for water to escape into space. Next is the 5 facts about Earth's hydrosphere. Number 1. Each cell in a living organism is composed of at least 75% water. This promotes the normal functioning of the cell. Most of the chemical reactions that occur in living organisms involve materials that are dissolved in water. No cell would survive or be able to carry its normal functions without water. Number 2. The hydrosphere provides an important place for a wide range of plants and animals to live. Many nutrients such as nitrite, and ammonium ions as well as gases such as carbon dioxide and oxygen are dissolved in water. These compounds play an integral role in the existence of life in water. Number 3. The hydrosphere benefits humans in numerous ways. Besides drinking, water is used for domestic purposes like cooking and cleaning as well as for industrial purposes. Water can also be used for transportation, agriculture, and to generate electricity through hydropower. Number 4. According to the scientists, the amount of water on the Earth's surface doesn't change over time. This implies the amount of water available on the Earth today is the same as it was when dinosaurs were roaming the Earth. And the last one is, it is believed that the hydrosphere's temperature and pressure vary significantly with depth. Moreover, the average depth of the oceans on Earth is said to be 12,447 feet or 3,794 meters. This is 5 times the continent's average height. And that's all for the Earth's hydrosphere. Let's move on to the all waters in the world, and it will discussed by the next reporters. Thank you.
Did you know? Despite needing water to survive, it tends to be overlooked by most people. There are so many amazing things about water that you might not know. For example, did you know that if all of the world's water were to fit in a 1 gallon jug, the fresh water available for us to drink would be equal to only 1 tablespoon? Yes. Water covers about 71% of the Earth's surface. There are two kinds of water, salt water and fresh water. Salt water contains, you guess it, large quantities of salt, while fresh water has a dissolved salt concentration of less than 1%. Only fresh water can be used as a drinking water. And did you know that water is the only substance that is found naturally on Earth in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas? Water regulates the Earth's temperature. Frozen water is 9% lighter than liquid water, which is why ice floats. If water were like most other substances, ice would sink and the Earth would be a cold, dry, and hostile planet, with thick layers of ice at the bottom of frigid oceans, lakes, and rivers. And did you know that there are so many sources of water? Here are some examples.
Good day to each one of you. My name is Jan Francis Mendoza, and I will be discussing the oceans and the 5 oceans basins in the world. Ocean. The ocean is a massive body of saline water that covers approximately 72% of the Earth's surface. The ocean is made up largely of saline water, which is simply water that contains salt. In other words, the Earth's ocean, which makes up 72% of the planet's surface, is a vast body of salty water. The ocean also contributes significantly to keeping life on Earth alive. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration claims that there is only one global ocean. Oceanographers and nations, however, have divided this ocean into recognizable named geographic regions. The majority of countries today, including the United States, recognize five ocean basins: the Arctic, Atlantic, Indian, Pacific, and Southern Oceans. Together, they contain roughly 97% of the water on Earth, and have a big impact on weather patterns and food supply chains all over the world. The blue whale, the largest animal in the world, is one of the many marine organisms that inhabit in the ocean. The next one is the Atlantic Ocean. The second largest ocean on Earth, the Atlantic drives our weather patterns, including hurricanes, and is home to many species from sea turtles and to dolphins. The Atlantic Ocean has played a significant role in trade and travel for many years. The Atlantic Ocean is surrounded by the Americas to the west, Europe to the east, and Antarctica to the south. It stretches from the Arctic Circle to Antarctica. It is the second largest ocean on Earth after the Pacific Ocean, with a surface area of more than 41 million square miles. Geographical, geographical experts and scientists generally divide the Atlantic into North and South. Different ocean currents from the North Atlantic and the South Atlantic each affect the weather globally. The Atlantic Ocean is home to a wide variety of marine life, including both that which is visible at the surface and that which is nearly invisible to the human eye. Photos from a deep sea dive led by an ocean research group were published in December 2018 by National Geographic. A federally protected marine area off the coast of Massachusetts in the Northeast Canyons and Seamounts Marine National Monument, and images have shown that is teeming with biodiversity. More than 3,000 feet below the surface of the ocean, a wide variety of corals, fish, and mollusks were discovered. Dolphins and sea turtles are just a few of the other well-known species that can be found in the Atlantic. The third one will be the Pacific Ocean. The largest ocean on Earth is filled with mysteries, but also subject to great pressures like climate change, plastic pollution, and overfishing. The Pacific Ocean is the world's largest and deepest ocean. It extends over 60 million square miles from California to China, and in some places it extends thousands of feet below the water surface. Even if all the land masses on Earth were combined, the Pacific would still be larger. Peaceful or pacify are synonyms for the name Pacific. Ferdinand Magellan, who was sailing through a calm area of the ocean, gave it its name in 1520. The Pacific is a sizable body of water teeming with activity despite its name. Despite the fact that there is still much of the ocean that has yet to be discovered, human activities like industrial fishing, deep sea mining, and the burning of fossil fuels are already having a significant impact on it. The enormous body of water is home to some of the most unusual life forms on Earth and has the deepest parts that are accessible to humans. The Pacific Ocean has a number of important characteristics as well as problems that affect it, including the development of hurricanes, the Ring of Fire, the Mariana Trench, ocean acidification, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and overfishing. Indian Ocean. body of salt water covering approximately one-fifth of the total ocean area of the world. It is the smallest, geologically youngest, and physically most complex of the world's three major oceans, which is Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian. The Indian Ocean gets its name from India, of course, and it differs from the Atlantic and Pacific in that it is landlocked in the northern hemisphere and does not reach Arctic waters, depriving this region of a temperature to cold zone. Without its marginal seas, the Indian Ocean covers an area of about 27 million square miles and stretches for more than 6,200 miles between the southernmost points of Africa and Australia. The Sunda Deep of the Java Trench off the southern coast of the island of Java of Indonesia is where the Indian Ocean's deepest point is located. Its depth is 24,442 feet, while the ocean coverage depth is 12,274 feet. The Indian Ocean is bordered to the north by Iran, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, to the east by the Malay Peninsula, to the south by the Southern Ocean, and to the west by Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Its waters collide with those of the Pacific Ocean to the east and southeast, and in the southwest it joins the Atlantic Ocean just south of Africa's southernmost tip. Based on atmospheric circulation, the Indian Ocean basin can be divided into four general climatic zones: monsoon, trade winds, subtropical and temperature zone, and sub-Antarctic and Antarctic zone. Southern Ocean, also called Antarctic Ocean, body of salt water covering approximately 1/16 of Earth's total ocean area. The Southern Ocean is made up of the parts of the global ocean south of the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans, as well as their tributary seas that are located around Antarctica and are south of the 60th parallel. No other continental landmass can be found to interrupt it. The Drake Passage, which separates South America from the end of the Antarctic Peninsula, is its narrowest passageway and measures 600 miles in width. The only ocean smaller in size is the Arctic Ocean. The Southern Ocean has a complicated current system. Water from the Antarctic continent that has been cooled by incoming radiation, cold air, and katabatic winds sinks and moves northward along the ocean floor before being replaced at the surface by an equal volume of warmer water that is moving south from the Indian, Pacific, and Atlantic Oceans. Whales, penguins, and seals are among the wonderful marine life found in the Southern Ocean's distinctive and delicate marine ecosystems.
I'm the next reporter, and I will be discussing the five largest seas in the world. But first, let's find out what is sea. The sea, connected as the world ocean, or simply the ocean, is the body of salty water that covers approximately 71% of the Earth's surface. The word sea is also used to denote second-order section of the sea, such as the Mediterranean Sea, as well as certain large entirely landlocked salt water lakes such as the Caspian Sea. The sea moderates Earth climate and has an important roles in the water cycle, carbon cycle, and nitrogen cycle. You all wondering, is there any difference between the sea and the ocean? Of course. So let's find out what is the difference between the two. In terms of geography, seas are smaller than the oceans and are usually located where the land and ocean meet. Seas are found on the margin of the ocean and are partially enclosed by land. Sa madaling salita, ang dagat ay mas maliit kaysa sa karagatan at ang mga dagat ay matatagpuan sa mga gilid ng karagatan at bahagyang napapalibutan ng lupa. Five largest seas in the world. First, Philippine Sea. The Philippine Sea is the largest sea in the world. It has an area of 2,198,852 square miles, or 5,695,000 square kilometers. It is part of the Pacific border by the Ryukyu Islands, Taiwan, several Japanese and Philippine islands, and other small islands. The floor of the sea is the Philippine Sea Plate, which is constantly moving. An increase in tectonic movements has given rise to the creation of island arcs, which are basically groups of active volcanoes under the sea. These volcanoes can be as much as 1,500 miles tall. And also, as a result of tectonic movements, is deep trenches. In fact, the deepest trenches in the world are found under the Philippine Sea. These include the very deepest location on Earth, which is the Mariana Trench. Scientists estimate the Philippine Sea to have formed between 119 and 131 million years ago. The Philippines is famous for its amazing biodiversity. The most diverse marine ecosystem in the world can be found here in the Philippines. There are over 500 species of coral and approximately 20% of the known species of shellfish. In addition, 200 of species of seaweed and algae. The Philippine Sea is home to many Japanese eels, tuna, whales, giants, octopus, sharks, and multiple turtle species. There are there are also many rare fish species here, including the blue-spotted angelfish, dugong, whale sharks, and megamouth sharks. Next, the Coral Sea. The Coral Sea is the second largest sea in the world, with an area of 1,849,815 square miles, or 4,791,000 square kilometers. Located off the northeast coast of Australia in the South Pacific Ocean, it borders this coast of Australia for about 1,200 miles. Queensland lies to the west of this sea, Vanuatu and New Caledonia to the east, and eastern New Guinea to the northeast. There are so many reefs and islands within the Coral Sea. And in fact, the Great Barrier Reef, which is the largest reef system in the world, is contained within Coral Sea. The Great Barrier Reef can actually be seen from space and has been designated as one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. The basin of the Coral Sea is thought to have formed about 58 million years ago as a result of the rise of the Queensland continental shelf. The sea is actually still forming due to the seismic activity. The island of the Great Barrier Reef are home to over 2,000 species of plants. The Coral Sea also has a very diverse ecosystem, being home to various lobsters, fungi, crayfish, prawns, crabs, and anemones. Additionally, there are at least 30 species of whales, including the humpback whales and dwarf minke whale, porpoises, porpoises, and dolphins. There are a minimum of 200 species of birds who visit the shores of this sea. There are includes the white-billed sea eagle and rosette tern. There are also 17 species of snakes, 6 species of sea turtles, and over 1,500 species of fish. The next is Mediterranean Sea, the third largest sea in the world. The American Mediterranean Sea is 1,621,629 square miles, or 4,200,000 square kilometers. This is actually the somewhat informal name for the Delusion Basin that includes the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola are all islands that separate this sea from Atlantic Ocean. This basin is full of biodiversity, and it is home to the Caribbean lobster, Atlantic dip lobster, Caribbean rough shark, Bahamas soft shark, and multiple species of marine turtles. There are also many fish such as the barracuda, sturgeon, spotted butterflies, parrotfish, and many more. Someone exploring this water would also be likely to find eels, jellyfish, and stingray. Next is Arabian Sea. The Arabian Sea, the fourth largest sea in the world, has an area of 1,491,127 square miles, or 3,862,000 square kilometers. It is located in the northern part of the Indian Ocean, bordered by India, Pakistan, Iran, Oman, Yemen, and Somalia. This sea is also home to many animals, including the humpback whales, killer whales, sperm whale, finless porpoise, common dolphin, and spinner dolphin. In addition to these large sea mammals, there is so many species of fish, turtles, and shrimp in the water. There are also birds who fly overhead. The environment is currently considered to be under siege because of the human activities that are causing damage to the ecosystem and putting the animals in danger. The last one, Sargasso Sea, is the fifth largest sea in the world with an area of 1,351,358 square miles, or 3,500,000 square kilometers. It is quite exceptional. Why? Because it is the only sea on the planet that doesn't have a land boundary. It's located entirely within the Atlantic Ocean and defined by ocean current rather than the land boundaries. The western boundary is the Gulf Stream, the northern boundary is the North Atlantic Current, the eastern boundary is the Canary Current, and the southern boundary is the North Atlantic Equatorial Current. The sea was named after a genus of free-floating seaweed, Sargassum, that freely floats around the water and reproduces vegetative on the surface of the sea. Other seaweeds do so on the floor of the ocean. This seaweed has made a great home for many marine species. This includes turtles, who use mats of the seaweeds as nurseries for their hatchlings. There are also many fish, crabs, and shrimps that have adapted to this seaweed. Many eels spawn here as well. Humpback whales, tuna, and multiple bird species migrate through this area and use it for food.
Good day everyone, I'm Angelica May Siguenza, and I will be discussing river. A river is a large natural stream of flowing water. Rivers are found on every continent and on nearly every kind of land. Some flow all year round, others flow seasonally or during wet years or when there has been a lot of rain. A river may be only kilometers long or it may span much of a continent. All rivers have a starting point where water begins its flow. This source is called a headwater. The headwater can come from rainfall or snow melt in mountains, but it can also bubble up from groundwater or form at the edge of a lake or large pond. The other end of a river is called its mouth, where water empties into a larger body of water, such as lake or ocean. Along the way, rivers may pass through wetlands where plants slow down the water and filter out pollutants. The water that flows in rivers is fresh, meaning that it contains less than 1% salt. However, rivers still carry and distribute important salts and nutrients to support plant and animal life. For this reason, some of the most biodiverse habitats on our planet can be found around rivers. Collectively, scientists estimate that all the rivers in the world carry about 3.6 billion metric tons of salt from the land to the ocean each year. Here are the 5 longest rivers in the world. Nile River. The Nile River flows over 6,600 kilometers or 4,100 miles until emptying into the Mediterranean Sea. For thousands of years, the river has provided a source of irrigation to transform the dry area around it into lush agricultural land. Today, the river continues to serve as a source of irrigation as well as an important transportation and trade route. The Nile River flows from south to north through eastern Africa. It begins in the rivers that flow into Lake Victoria, located in modern-day Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, and empties into the Mediterranean Sea more than 6,600 kilometers to the north, making it one of the longest rivers in the world. The Nile River was critical to the development of ancient Egypt. In addition to Egypt, the Nile runs through or along the border of 10 other African countries, namely Burundi, Tanzania, Rwanda, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. Its 3 main tributaries are the White Nile, the Blue Nile, and the Atbara. Amazon River. The Amazon River is a massive intricate water system weaving through one of the most vital and complex ecosystems in the world. It is by far the mightiest river on earth in terms of volume and width, reaching a span of nearly 30 miles or 48 kilometers in some parts during the rainy season. The river and its basin are home to many unique species of animals, trees, and plants. The quality of fresh water released by the Amazon to the Atlantic Ocean is enormous, up to 300,000 cubic meters per second in the rainy season. The Amazon is responsible for a fifth of the total volume of fresh water entering the oceans worldwide. It is said that offshore of the mouth of the Amazon, potable water can be drawn from the ocean where still out of sight of the coastline, and the salinity of the ocean is notable lower 100 miles out to sea. This mixture of fresh and salt water is known as brackish water. This quantity of water causes the Amazon to have no clouds above the channel near its mouth, as shown in satellite images. These are usually taken in the morning when water is colder and the land is beginning to be much warmer. Above big rivers, cold waters create a high-pressure air mass which makes river easily to see through clouds. On the contrary, during afternoons, clouds cover most river channels. The Yangtze or Yangtze is the longest river in Asia, the third longest in the world, and the longest in the world to flow entirely within one country. It rises at Jory Hill in the Tangula Mountains and flows 6,300 kilometers in generally easterly direction to the East China Sea. It is the seventh largest river by discharge volume in the world. Its drainage basins comprises one-fifth of the land area of the China and is home to nearly one-third of the country's population. The Yangtze River Basin has some of the highest levels of biodiversity in the world, from towering mountains and dense forests to fertile wetlands and bustling waterways created by seasonal flooding. The area covers nearly 448 million acres, an area more than 4 times the size of California. The Yangtze's rich and complex terrains are climate have created a wide range of natural ecosystems that provide vital habitats for such charismatic species as the snow leopard, giant panda, and Yangtze finless porpoise. Historically, it has also sustained numerous local communities that rely on the river for drinking water, farming, fishery, and transportation. But unprecedented economic growth combined with expansion of industries and rapid urbanization in the basin is putting a severe strain on the river. Mississippi River. Mississippi River, the fourth longest river in the world, is located in North America. It is 6,274 kilometers long and flows towards the Gulf of Mexico. Its presence is only in the two countries, namely United States of America and Canada. Mississippi River, the longest river of the North America, draining with its major tributaries an area of approximately 1.2 million square miles, or about 1/8 of the entire continent. The Mississippi River lies entirely within the United States. Yenisei River. It is the fifth longest river in the world and is home to 55 native fish species, including 2 endemics, Gobius rubicus, Taimalius nigrescens, according to freshwater ecoregions of the world. It is one of the longest rivers in Asia, the world's sixth largest river in terms of discharge. The Yenisei runs from south to north across the great expanse of central Siberia. It traverses a vast region of strikingly varied landscapes where ancient peoples, our customs, as well as an enormous economic infrastructures are found. Lakes. A lake is an area filled with water, localized in a basin, surrounded by land, and distinct from any river or other outlet that serves to feed or drain the lake. Lakes lie on land and are not part of the ocean, although, like the much larger oceans, they do form part of the Earth's water cycle. Lakes vary greatly in size. Some measure only a few square meters and are small enough to fit in your yard. Such small lakes are often referred to as ponds. Other lakes are so big that they are called seas. The water in lakes comes from rain, snow, melting ice, streams, and groundwater seepage. Most lakes contain fresh water. All lakes are either open or closed. If water leaves a lake by a river or other outlet, it is said to be open. All freshwater lakes are open. If water only leaves a lake by evaporation, the lake is closed. Closed lakes usually become saline or salty. This is because as the water evaporates, it leaves behind solids, mostly salts. And here are the 6 largest lakes in the world.
The Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea lies in Eastern Europe, at the border between Europe and Central Asia, as the largest inland body of water on Earth. It has been vital to the economy of the surrounding regions. The Caspian Sea was formed 30 million years ago, around the same time as the Black Sea and the Aral Sea. The Caspian is the largest salt lake in the world, but that has not always been true. The Caspian Basin as a whole is usually divided into the northern, middle, and southern Caspian, based partly on underwater relief and partly on hydrologic characteristics. The sea contains as many as 50 islands. Most of them is small. The largest are Chechen, Chuleni, Morskoy, Kulali, Ziloy, and Ogorchin. The Caspian Sea also varying levels of salinity. Overall, it is about one-third as salty as the ocean.
Next is Lake Superior, the largest of the Great Lakes and the world's largest lake of fresh water. Its area is 31,820 square miles or 82,414 square kilometers. It was located in the US and Canada. It is surrounded by the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, and by Ontario in Canada. The main port is Duluth, Minnesota.
Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is the largest lake on the African continent and is also the biggest tropical lake in the world. It is also one of the Great Lakes of Africa, and after Lake Superior in North America, it is the second largest freshwater lake on Earth. The East African Rift System is in the center of a shallow depression where Lake Victoria's waters are located. Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda are three African nations that share the Lake Victoria region. Tanzania is home to about 49% of the lake, followed by Uganda 45% and Kenya about 6%. The lake serves as the main reservoir for the Nile River and has a catchment area of nearly 170,000 kilometers squared.
The next one is Lake Huron. Lake Huron is another of the Great Lakes that has shorelines in the United States and Canada. This lake is interesting because it has less surface area than Lake Victoria, but it has a lot more volume. So, Lake Huron also because has Manitoulin Island, the biggest lake island in the entire world. This lake is located in south of Lake Superior and east of Lake Michigan. It drains into Lake Erie to the south. Lake Huron is connected to the Lake Michigan by the Straits of Mackinac, and technically they can be considered as one huge lake. Like the other Great Lakes, Lake Huron was created by the melting of retreating glaciers at the end of the last ice age. During the last glacial retreat, much of the land beyond Lake Huron's shoreline naturally revealed large and polished rocks. These rocks eroded over time and formed the mountains and hills we see today.
Lake Michigan, the freshwater lake and the fifth largest lakes in the world ranked by the surface area. It is also the Great Lakes to be located entirely in the United States. The name of this lake state originates from the native Ojibwe word Michigami means the great water. It is formed when the thaw after winter of blue snow when meltwater flooded. Note about Lake Michigan. It is have a surface area of 22,404 square miles, a shoreline length of 1,400 miles, and a maximum depth of 923 feet, and the shoreline countries located is United States.
Tanggal niyo ka. is one of the biggest lakes in Africa and it's the largest freshwater lake. Lake Tanganyika is one of the African Great Lakes. With a depth of 1,470 meters, 4,820 feet. It is the second deepest lake in the world, after Lake Baikal. It also the world's second largest freshwater lake by volume. Lake Tanganyika is 673 kilometers, 418 miles long, which makes it world's longest lake. Lake Tanganyika is one of the 20 ancient lakes on Earth, and its age is estimated to be somewhere between 9 to 12 million years. Lake Tanganyika has three basins. The Kigoma Basin in the north reaches a depth of 1,310 meters. It is separated by the Middle Basin by Broad Seal that reaches a depth of 655 meters. The Middle Basin is separated by the Kipili Basin in the south by another cell 700 meters in depth. Kipili, the southern basin, is the deepest, and the lake reaches its maximum depth of 1,470 meters here. Because the lake is extremely deep and located in tropical area, the bottom of the lake contains fossil water, which lacks oxygen. This water may be up to 20 million years old. The lake is also known for its ferocious storms, which generate 6-meter waves. Despite these storms, mixing between surface and bottom waters doesn't occur, which make the lake meromictic. Water temperatures in Lake Tanganyika are amazingly uniform, with the lower regions a mere 3 Celsius colder than at the surface. The reason for this is unknown. The surface layer undergoes annual seasonal temperature change. Average transparency is 11 meters 36 feet. The lake's proximity to the equator means that the solar radiation around it varies very little throughout the year. Are supplied to the mixed layer, where photosynthesis occurs, are mostly internal from lake itself. Atmospheric and riverine nutrient inputs are considered negligible. Good day everyone, my name is Christine. Groundwater is the water found underground is the cracks and spaces in soil, sand and rock. It is stored in and moves slowly through geologic formation of soil, sand and rock called aquifers. Groundwater is used for drinking water by more than 50% of the people, including almost everyone who lives in areas. The largest use for groundwater is to irrigate crops. Aquifers are typically made up of gravel, sand, sandstone, or fractured rock, like limestone. Water can move through these materials because they have large connected spaces that make them permeable. The speed at which groundwater flows depends on the size of the spaces in the soil or rock and how well spaces are connected. Groundwater can be found almost everywhere. The water table may be deep or shallow and may rise or fall depending on many factors. Heavy rains or melting snow may cause the water table rise, or heavy pumping of groundwater supplies may cause the water table to fall. Groundwater supplies are replenished or recharged by rain and snow melt that seeps down into the rocks and crevices beneath and land surface. In some areas of the world, people face serious water shortages because groundwater is used faster than it is naturally replenished. In other areas, groundwater is polluted by human activities.
Clouds. Clouds are often one of the first things we notice when we look up into the sky. A cloud is defined as a visible aggregate of minute droplets of water or particles of ice or a mixture of both floating in the free air. So in each droplet, it has a diameter of about 100 of a millimeter, and each cubic meter of air will contain 100 million droplets. Take note that the water in a cloud is the cloud. More accurately, a cloud consists of very small liquid water drops or ice crystals suspended in air. So, what exactly are clouds and how they form? We have two illustrations below that describe how clouds are formed. The first illustration in the left side, illustrating the water and ice that make up clouds, travels into the sky within air as water vapor and the gas form of water. So when water vapor gets into air mainly by evaporation, some of the liquid water from the ocean, lakes and rivers turns into water vapor and travels in the air. And when air rises in the atmosphere, it gets cooler and is under less pressure. When air cools, some of the water vapor condenses, and as air pressure drops, some water vapor condenses too. So the vapor becomes small water droplets and a cloud is formed. The second illustration in the right side illustrating also of how clouds are formed, but it is an example of hydrological cycle in which water in various states of matter circulates on a regular basis. We can see there the water evaporates or transforms from a liquid to a gas. Then plants and trees release water into the atmosphere of the earth as well. So as water is transformed back into a liquid state, clouds are formed. And the movement of dust and other atmospheric particles there aids in a cloud formation. We have different types of clouds can give us clues what is happening in the atmosphere and what we can expect to happen in the weather. For example is, some clouds means that we can expect to see fair weather in the forecast. Here are a few examples of types of clouds we should know. In the lowest clouds of the atmosphere, which has less than 6,500 feet, we have cumulus clouds. It's a puffy clouds that sometimes look like pieces of floating cotton. The base of this cloud is often flat and may be only 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet above the ground. When the top of the cumulus resembles the head of a cauliflower, it is called towering cumulus. And when those clouds grow upward, they can develop into a giant cumulonimbus. So, the weather prediction of these clouds is we can expect to see fair weather. The next one is stratus clouds. Stratus clouds is often look like a thin and a white sheets covering the whole sky. So since they are so thin, they seldom produce much rain or snow. Sometimes in the mountain or hills, these clouds appear to be fog. So if we can see this type of clouds, it is a fair weather but gloomy. The next one is cumulonimbus clouds. These clouds are grow on hot days with warm, and when wet air rises very high into the sky from far away, they look like huge mountains or a towers. If ever we can see this type of clouds, it is looking for rain, hail, and tornadoes. The last one is stratocumulus clouds. These clouds are patchy gray or white clouds that often have a dark honeycomb-like appearance. So if we can see this type of clouds, it's predict fair weather for now, but a storm might be on its way. The next one are clouds that can be found in the mid-level of the atmosphere about 6,500 to 23,000 feet. Altocumulus clouds. These clouds have several patchy white or gray layers and seem to be made up of many small rows of fluffy ripples. They are lower than cirrus clouds but still quite high. They are made of liquid water but they don't often produce rain. The weather prediction of these clouds is a fair weather. The next one is altostratus clouds. These clouds are gray or blue-gray mid-level clouds composed of ice crystals and water droplets, and these clouds usually cover the entire sky. If ever we can see this type of clouds, be prepared for continuous rain or snow. The last one is nimbostratus clouds. These clouds are dark and gray clouds that seem to be fade into falling rain or snow. They are so thick that they often blot out the sunlight. So, the weather prediction of these is gloomy with continuous rain or snow. And in the highest clouds, about 16,500 to 45,000 feet, we have cirrus clouds. These clouds are delicate and has a feathery clouds that are made mostly of ice crystals. Their wispy shape comes from wind currents which twist and spread the ice crystals into strands. We can expect in these clouds to a change is on its way. The next one is cirrostratus clouds. These clouds are thin and white clouds that cover the whole sky like a veil. These clouds also are most commonly seen in the winter and can cause the appearance of a halo around the sun or the moon. If ever we can see these clouds, rain or snow will arrive within 24 hours. The last one is cirrocumulus clouds. These clouds are also thin and sometimes patchy and a sheet-like clouds. They sometimes look like they're full of ripples or are made of small grains. If ever we can see this type of clouds, we can expect a fair weather but cold. However, if we live in a tropical region, these clouds could be a sign of an approaching hurricane. Lastly, we have what we call special clouds. Special clouds are those clouds that usually have pouch-like shapes like hanging out the bottoms. In these cases, clouds may form or grow as a consequence of certain, often localized generating factors. First one, we have contrails. These are made by high-flying jet airplanes. They are still clouds, though, because they are made of water droplets condensed from the water vapor in the exhaust of the jet engines. So the weather prediction of this type of clouds, it can provide information about the layers of moisture in the sky. So the next one is mammatus. Mammatus clouds are actually altocumulus, cirrus, cumulonimbus, or other types of clouds that have the pouch-like shapes hanging out of the bottom. The pouches are created when cold air within the cloud sinks down toward the earth. So if ever we can see this type of clouds, it is a severe weather might be on its way. The next one is orographic clouds. Orographic clouds get their shape from mountains or hills that force the air to move over or around them. They can also be formed by sea breezes and often appear as lines where two air masses meet. These clouds is an early sign that the conditions might be right to form afternoon thunderstorms. The last one is lenticular clouds. These clouds are shaped like lenses or almonds or flying saucers. They may get their shape from hilly terrain or just the way the air is rising over flat terrain. We don't have to worry about the weather prediction of these clouds because it has no consequences at all. Additional information about how to forecast accurately the Earth's weather is the GOES-R series. The GOES-R series is a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration mission or the NOAA's mission. It is supported by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration or what we call NASA. The GOES-R series is the NOAA's latest generation. GOES means Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellites. So as we can see in the pictures below, it takes advanced pictures for more accurate weather forecasts, map lightning in real time, improve the monitoring of sun's activity. So generally speaking, the GOES-R series provides advanced imagery, atmospheric measurements of Earth's weather, oceans and environment, and real-time mapping of total lightning activity, and improved monitoring of solar activity and space weather as well.
Good day everyone, my name is Mary Abel and I will going to discuss the last topic, which is precipitation. Before I start, I want you to know that precipitation is part of the water cycle. And in the form of water, there will be rain, snow, sleet, hail, clouds, and atmospheric moisture, so precipitation is also part of the Earth atmosphere. It means na ang precipitation ay darating lamang pagkatapos ng proseso ng condensation, kung saan ang mga anyo ng tubig na umaakyat mula sa atmosphere ay bumibigat ng bumibigat at maaaring maging resulta ng pagpatak ng tubig, kagaya ng ulan, kung saan ang tubig mula sa ulap ay bumabagsak sa lupa. And precipitation is the most major components in the water cycle, because it is responsible for the deposition of the water in our planet. Note that there is a three condition must meet to precipitation forming. Number 1 is the cooling of atmosphere, number 2 is condensation of nuclei, and number 3 is water droplets. 5 common types of precipitation. Number 1, rain. Rain is the most commonly observed drops. It is larger than drizzle. It is sub 0.2 inches and 0.5 millimeters. In short, rain is a liquid precipitation called water falling from the sky. 2 is drizzle. It is uniform precipitation composed of exclusively fine drops that is very close together. Drizzle may called ambon or light rain. It is like rain but smaller raindrops. It is usually happen before the rain. Ice pellet or sleet. It consists of round or irregular hard grains of ice consists of frozen raindrops, a rain that is partly frozen. Sleet may form when partly melted the snow that falls from the clouds, and that's what you call sleeting. Number 4 is hail. It is a form of small ball or other pieces of ice falling separately or frozen together in irregular lumps. It is formed when thunderstorm updrafts leaves a water droplets above the freezing level in the atmosphere. The last type of precipitation. Number 5 is snow. Crystals that are mostly branched and in forms of 6-pointed stars. They form when temperatures are low and there is moisture in the atmosphere in the form of tiny ice crystals.